They told you chocolate was a treat, something indulgent, something to be rationed, a pleasure wrapped in foil and sold at a premium. But that is not the original story. That was never the original story. What they call chocolate begins with a tree, a quiet, shade-loving tree that does not grow in Europe, does not grow in the empires that consumed it, and cannot survive the systems that commodified it. It grows in shadow, beneath the canopy of older, larger trees, as if it was designed to be hidden, as if it always knew what the world would do with it if it was found too easily. For thousands of years, this tree was not a source of candy, it was medicine, it was currency, it was sacred, it was consumed as a bitter, fermented drink that bore no resemblance to anything in a modern chocolate shop. And then the world found it, renamed it, refined it, stripped out everything that made it powerful, and sold the remainder back to the people at 10 times the price. The knowledge was not lost, it was replaced. There is a difference. This is Ancient Food Files, a channel built not to entertain, but to remember. Before you continue watching, please check the link provided in this video's description. That way, you can verify it yourself. We document the plants, the systems, the knowledge that the modern world passed over, erased, or simply forgot to mention. If you have not yet subscribed, consider doing so now, not for us, for the record, because some things should not disappear a second time. Open the archive, go back further than you think necessary. The story of the elixir tree does not begin with Spain, it does not begin with the colonial trade routes, it begins in the lowland rainforests of what is now southern Mexico and Central America, in a region the Olmec people had cultivated for over 3,000 years before any European set foot on that soil. The Olmec, the Maya, the Aztec, 3 civilizations separated by centuries, connected by one tree. In the Nahuatl language of the Aztec, the drink made from this tree's seeds was called chocolatl, bitter water, not sweet, not soft, bitter, spiced with chili, mixed with maize, sometimes with flowers, drunk cold or at room temperature, used before battle, used in ceremony, used in the marketplace as a unit of exchange. The seeds themselves, the dried, fermented pods from inside the tree's enormous hanging fruit, functioned as coins. A rabbit cost roughly 10 seeds. A human life, in some records, was measured in pods. The Maya called the tree caca. They drew it on their ceramics. They buried their dead with vessels of its drink. There are murals, ancient and crumbling, that show the cacao tree growing from the body of the maize god, growth from sacrifice, nourishment from death. This was not metaphor, this was cosmology. The tree was not decoration in their world, it was architecture, it was theology. Look at the tree itself, Theobroma cacao, the genus name, given much later by the Swedish botanist Linnaeus, translates from Greek as food of the gods. Even the scientific classification could not avoid the reverence. The tree grows to roughly 8 meters, its bark is pale, almost gray. The fruit does not grow on branches the way most fruit does, it grows directly from the trunk, heavy, ridged pods, each one the size of a small melon, pressing outward from the wood itself as if the tree is offering something from inside its own body. The pods are yellow when unripe, then orange, then deep crimson. Cut one open and you find white pulp, sweet and floral, surrounding rows of seeds. The pulp is edible. Almost nobody outside its origin region knows this. The seeds are what the world wanted, but the pulp came first. The biological design of this tree is not accidental. It is one of the most nutritionally dense seed-bearing plants ever documented. The dried, fermented seeds contain theobromine, a compound that dilates blood vessels, reduces blood pressure, and stimulates the central nervous system more gently and for longer than caffeine. They contain flavonols, which modern cardiologists now study for their effects on arterial function. They contain magnesium in concentrations higher than almost any other food source. They contain iron, zinc, manganese, phosphorus. They contain anandamide, a compound that the human brain also produces naturally, sometimes called the bliss molecule, binding to the same receptors as certain neurological compounds and inducing a state of calm focus. The Aztec warriors who drank chocolatl before campaign were not engaging in ritual alone, they were consuming a compound that increased endurance, reduced anxiety, and maintained mental clarity under physical stress. The priests who administered it during ceremony were not performing theater, they were administering pharmacology. The knowledge was empirical, built over generations of observation. What the body does after drinking this, what the mind does, how long it lasts, they knew. In 1519, Hernán Cortés arrived on the Mexican coast. He was received, in some accounts, with cups of the bitter drink. He found it unpleasant, he found the seeds more interesting. Records from the expedition note that the Aztec Emperor Montezuma kept vast stores of dried pods, some accounts say nearly 1 billion seeds in reserve, held in the palace treasury. Cortés understood, with the clarity of a man who recognized value in unfamiliar forms, that he was looking at money. He wrote to the Spanish crown describing a tree whose fruit was used as currency and whose drink sustained armies. The letter arrived in Spain in 1528. The first shipment of seeds followed shortly after. What happened next was not discovery, it was extraction. The Spanish added sugar, they added vanilla, they warmed the drink and served it to aristocracy. The bitterness, the part that contained most of the active compounds, was gradually sweetened away. The ceremony was removed, the medicine became a luxury, the luxury became a commodity. By 1600, chocolate houses had opened across Europe, serving a product that shared almost nothing with chocolatl beyond the name of its source. The tree remained in the tropics, the profit moved to Europe. This is a pattern that repeats throughout history with such regularity that it is almost boring to note. Almost. By the mid-19th century, something more thorough had occurred. In 1828, a Dutch chemist named Coenraad van Houten developed a hydraulic press that could separate the fat, the cocoa butter, from the ground seeds, leaving behind a dry powder. The powder could be mixed with sugar and milk and molded into solid bars. The age of chocolate as confection had begun. What had once been a fermented, bioactive, ceremonially significant drink was now a candy. The theobromine was still present, but diluted. The flavonols were present, but reduced. The magnesium was present, but overwhelmed by sugar. The medicine had become dessert. The industrial system did not destroy the tree. It could not. The tree grows where it has always grown, beneath the canopy, along the equatorial belt, patient and strange fruited. What the industrial system destroyed was the knowledge of what the tree actually was. By the time mass market chocolate became standard in the 20th century, most people in the consuming world had no idea that what they were eating had once been currency, had once been drunk bitter and cold before battle, had once grown from the body of a god in a cosmological mural painted by people who studied it for 1,000 years. When the Aztec Empire fell in 1521, the seeds survived. When the Spanish sweetened the drink into unrecognizability, the tree kept growing in the forests of Mesoamerica. When the industrial press turned the sacred into confection, the wild varieties persisted in the understory, unmanaged, unknown, unmodified. When the commodity market collapsed Brazilian production in the 1990s, the forest garden varieties in the Amazon continued to fruit, as they always had, without assistance. The tree does not need vindication. It has outlasted every system that tried to contain it. It will outlast the ones currently trying to scale it. What is at risk is not the tree. What is at risk is the understanding of the tree, the knowledge of what it is, what it does, how to live alongside it rather than extract from it. That is what was buried, that is what is worth recovering. The knowledge was never lost, it was set aside, quietly, over generations, under pressure that did not always announce itself as pressure, and it is still there, in the older preparations, in the forest gardens, in the studies that keep confirming what the Maya already knew. Nature does not require our permission to continue, it only requires that we stop pretending we know better than 3,000 years of careful observation. If this kind of history matters to you, if you believe that what has been buried deserves to be recovered, subscribe to Ancient Food Files. Every entry in this archive exists because someone decided to remember.